Hello Tubesters, it's Gav. Welcome to another one of my videos. Today we're going to be looking at some Warlord Epic, I think they're about 13mm plastic, British, well they're in British service, so German, 2nd Battalion, King's German Legion. So they're, as you'll probably see by the thumbnail, you wouldn't tell them apart from British, because they were British. But German. So yeah, I won't go into the ins and outs and all the rest of it, and I'll get it all wrong. It's in here, but it'll all come out different. So yeah, as I say, they're always nice to do. It takes me ages to do them because I just do them on the side, you know, as I'm working away. I had planned to do either another British unit or another French unit. I think I've got one more full French unit to do in the box set that I bought, because you know I've just been putting them up on eBay. And then I've got a couple of smaller, I think there might even be one stand, I'm not 100% sure, of engineers and Marines of the Guard, and a battery of artillery as well, so that's got to get done. I thought I'd probably do the battery and the 2 units as in for one sale, if that makes sense. But I have been enjoying painting the British. I enjoy doing the reds and the greys and that. All painted in acrylics. These ones mainly either Vallejo model colours and AK 3rd generation. That in their range, though, they all call them different things. So there's even World War II AFV colours in there. Paint, colour call-outs for jet fighters and whatever. It could be anyway. I'm just saying, I can't remember what I put in there. But their range, it's just easier to say a model colour in that sense. I'm just trying to think if there is actually any game colours in there. Oh, I'm digressing. Tufts are made by me on the flop box. It is ideal for making this size of tufts. As I say, you're always going to have a fairly, unless you're going to putty around the edges, and I'm not going to get into that, because then you'd have to try and putty the insides as well. So because they sit up, you're always going to have a slight ridge and not a lot of depth to do much work with the bases, which is fine. They're designed to be en masse in a block, if that makes sense, to have that mass effect appeal. So whether you decide to put static grass just over them, or as I do, I make a load of tufts. Takes me ages. It usually takes me a morning, and I'll just about once a month I'll do loads of sheets of tufts, for different scales and whatever. So yeah, let's go down to the bench. We'll take a quick look. There'll be probably about a dozen photos at the end of the video. Again, I know it's nothing you haven't really seen before. A red coat is a red coat is a red coat. And especially as all these I'm just doing in the standard grey trousers for 1815, and they've got the Belgic shakos on as well, which means nothing to my maras that don't do this type of stuff. It just means that they've got like a bit of a peak to the shako, and usually got cords on as well, if they haven't got a oil canvas over the top to protect the shako. For some unaccountable reason only known to Warlord Games, one of the ensigns and the sergeant has a cover over the shako, and none of the others do. Go figure. So I don't mind. I don't mind the sprinkling of the different. Having, as I say, I'm all for variety in the figures. It's a bit weird just having 2 when nobody else has. Right. Anyway, let's go down to the bench and take a look. Right, guys, as I say, I make no apologies. The colours I tend to slightly lift on these figures, just because they are so small. Here's our mounted officer that comes with the sprue. I think you also get an artillery piece and crew with the sprue as well, because I've just bought these particular ones as single sprues. It is more cost effective if you go out and buy a box. But my problem was I'd bought a sprue just to see what they were like, not realising you get a light infantry stand. So one of these stands, you get a light infantry stand, and you get a single artillery piece with crew, and obviously when you buy your box set, they all make up a battery and a unit of light infantry. And I didn't realise that at the time, so I bought this sprue, and I will have to buy another one just so I can make my battery up and make the light infantry up, if that makes sense. So yeah, you know, I mean, they're fairly soft on the details a lot of the time. That's just the moulding. The face on this one was quite soft as well, but I'm not, you know, again, they're there for the mass effect, not for some in-depth photo shoot, if that makes sense. I mean, you aren't going to see faces on a large table, or even on your dining table, if that makes sense. You know, you really only get to see them when you're holding them up like this. But still, I do like, you know, I mean, I've probably put a base coat and probably about 3 highlights on those, getting smaller and smaller as I go, on little dabs on the hands and stuff. As I say, I put, if you want them to shine a bit more, let me just see if I can fish out, because I didn't think I said it properly last time. What I will do is use some of this radiant flesh on top of a medium flesh. So I'll put, in fact, let's just show what I use. It might be easier. This is what I use for these guys. So I put 1 or 2 base fleshes of that on. So one problem with these I don't know how they print them, but they blooming rub out really quick with your, you know, when you get sweat on your hands or whatever. So that's base flesh from AK, and that's from their figure range. I then mix, well, I don't mix sorry with these, I do on the larger figures, but I put it straight on with these. Medium flesh from Vallejo. Then I put radiant flesh, which is a nice goldy colour, hence the word radiant. Looks like I'm going to be writing that one down there soon as well. But radiant flesh from AK again, and then inside, mixed in with the radiant flesh, I'll put a tiny dab of, let's not say in Spanish, yellow green. But any type of, they all have different, you know, some call them laser greens and you name it, but anything like that colour really, which is a very bright green yellow. Now obviously be careful how much you put in, because you will turn your figure quite quickly into a you know, a colour not far off that. But what it'll do is it'll luminise your figures, and then you can always, I can't remember if I've done them on these or not with my shot memory, but ice yellow is my other favourite as well, and I will dab that on as a final highlight. And I know what you're saying, like, well, isn't that going to be just yellow on top of it is, but if you don't water it down so it's a glaze, but if you don't make it too thick, it can make a nice highlight, and I definitely use it on my larger figures. So yeah, I just thought while we're here we would actually talk about the flesh colours used in said unit. Right, so yeah, 2nd King German Legion, dressed as any other British unit would be, but all Germans. Some recruited from French units that had been taken prisoner, others direct, especially from 1815, from obviously our king at the time. Obviously had German estates still, and some of them were taken from there, but yeah, generally German. The blue on these is a lot lighter than it would be in real life. Usually that usual normal dark blue that most of these regiments had. As I said before, I just do it because it just stands out that little bit better against the uniforms. Again, you can, if you want to go fancy, I should do it on one of the, might do it on one of the other units, which is you can put a circle on the back in the unit facing colours, Some of them would have the regimental emblems written on, and just maybe the circling the colour of the regimental facings, in this case blue, with usually the number written in. And no, I'm not going to attempt to put the number in the back, in the middle of the circle. But you know, you could do that as well, just to break them up a bit. I just make these for what they are, which is just Mass Effect. I don't try and change up the, you know me, I'll sometimes mix up greatcoat colours and I'll mix up trousers. The British were fairly uniform, the same in 1815. Obviously the campaign had just kicked off, so nobody was in not that many were in dire straits uniform wise. They've had a double spray of, can we reach it, Gav? I think we can. Backdrop falling down. Hang on a second, Tubesters. That's what I use for my varnish on most of my figures, in fact all my figures. Occasionally, like I run out a few months ago and used my VMS varnish, which is brilliant, but it is absolutely flat matte, and I'm not a huge fan of it on my figures because it really just takes all your highlights out of it. So what I do with this, you can put it on by brush. You can still get, though I was getting, occasionally I'd get to like the shine on it, not so much the what we call it, the frosting, but I'd get like a satin, which not what we wanted, and that's usually because it's been put on too heavy with the brush. So I put mine through my airbrush. I know a lot of you guys don't have that, so not much I can say about that, but I put mine through an airbrush. Sometimes I put either 3 or 4 drops of water in. I keep one of these modelling syringes, and I just use that for my water. I don't put any other stuff up, you know, as in thinning cellulose type stuff in there. It's just water that I use for adding to my varnish mixes. But I will also sometimes put a Mr. Colour levelling thinner in there as well, which gives it a nice matte appeal, although obviously I don't use that syringe to do that because the rubber would get all eaten up. So yeah, that's it guys. Photographs at the end. Thanks for stopping by and rambling through, hear me rambling through what should have been a really quick video, but when have my videos ever been really quick? But yeah, again, thoroughly enjoyed doing them. I find them very hard wearing. Bayonets are fairly hard. In fact, my wife tipped these over when we were moving the thing around, and there was no damage or paint chips or anything on them. So a couple of sprays of varnish on that. I usually spray them once on the bottle tops, just so I can handle them. So what I actually do, by the way, I can't remember if I've said before, because I've got a few of these, I don't know if I could say extra bases, but I've always got more bases than I need at the time, and I just mount one rank of figures on a base and use them as my painting, my painting like bottle top, in other words. And I do them that way because obviously they're all stuck together anyway, they've all been moulded together, so that's how I do those. And then and I stick them down with PVA because it can easily just be put a scalpel under and they'll just come straight off, but it holds them long enough and hard enough for you to paint with. Then I replace them once I've scraped the PVA off, and I use some again, because I do scale modelling as well, I've always got this around, although most of you guys will have some type of this if you do plastic figures, but I use my extra thin and I stick them down with that, and then obviously I sand them and PVA, and so I put PVA around them very carefully. Obviously you don't want to get PVA over your figures. Sand them, and then put more wet PVA. Once they've dried off, I put a thinned out PVA mix round the sand again just to hold it, and it also doesn't suck your paint in as you're painting, so you don't waste too much paint. And then obviously just give I usually use burnt umber for this type of work, and then I'll use silver grey just to give a dry brush around the edges, and then stick me stick my tufts on, and then give them that second spray. The colours come with the, oh, they don't come with these, I had to buy them separate because I haven't got the box, but normally the colour sheet will come in with your, if you buy a box of these, but I had to buy a sheet separate, but I'm just going down that at the moment. So yeah, I will be doing some, I'm just about to prime them now. Other clients, as I think I said to you guys before, when I did the blues and the others for him, I thought that was going to be an end of it, but he wants me to do some, he wants to see me if I can, yes, Andy, I noticed that you've got meter base them, and the more I look at them I'm thinking, how are they going to fit on there? But yeah, he's bought some more singles metals. He wants me to base on the same, paint them and base them on the same Warlord bases, which will be fun. So I'm about to do a mass, they were cleaned up the other day, and now we're getting a mass priming session. So you should see those roughly looking like these. I can't remember which Yorkshire regiment he wants me to do. I've actually got to message him and get him to tell me again exactly what unit I'm supposed to be painting. But yeah, so you'll be seeing those as well. And I won't get another one of these units in until I've painted Andy's, because there doesn't seem much point. I'll be just doing millions and millions of this scale, and I might, you know, and his won't get any farther forward. So yeah, look after yourselves. The 28mm World War II British got all the rubble and everything on those. I'm going to prime the bases by brush at the same time I do Andy's commission, was the word I was after. So prime all them black, getting all the nooks and crannies. Then I've just got to add some, once the paint, oh, sorry, yeah, then I've got to add some spent, as I normally do, cartridge cases, you know, across the ground, and some other bits once they've been painted. So yeah, a few days off from them yet being completed, but they're not far off. You'll either get to see them over the weekend or into early part of next week. I've got some other bits and pieces to finish off as well. So look after yourselves. Thanks for stopping by. Again, more videos up soon. I'm not sure what, but there will be. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all the kind support and that. It's really appreciated. It always, you know, people often say it, but I don't like to get too, because it sounds a bit too salesy if I'm not careful. But I just wanted to, I genuinely mean thank you very much, because it's nice to know people are out there, you know what I mean, and have got some interest in something that I do on the channel. It doesn't always have to be these guys. There's the I keep calling the Saratoga, the Lexington. I've almost completed all 10,001 bits of little squares of masking tape. I've given this a good belting. So I'm doing the grey on her hopefully tomorrow. So you will get an update on the Lexington soon, and then when she's more or less painted, and I'll put a coat over her for varnish wise, so I can do some weathering on her. Then I want to crack on with my 29 Hot Rod Roadster. I was going to do it, but I thought no, I don't want to jump too much. So that's going to get some love and attention. At the same time, the Dragonfly is really ready for primer and painting. So there's no real reason for me not to do that roughly at the same time. So you should be getting some modelling updates. It's been quite figure heavy of late, which I don't mind. But I know there are a lot of my Maras out there that are more model orientated than really bothered about what I do with figures. So just to let you know, there is a car coming, an aircraft carrier, and a small jet. I mean, why be consistent, Gav? Just throw everything out there. So thank you once again, and we'll speak soon on another video.